So student, this is our animated cell. This is an animal cell and it will describe its story by its own. So let us listen
I'm the
what
great
it
builder.
has to say.
Nobody knew me until my good friend, Mr. Hook, spotted me through a microscope and gave me a name. Living organisms.
Students, please take out your notepads and your pen and note down each and everything. What this cell has to say about itself and about the scientist who discovered it and who discovered other phenomena, other things related to cell. So note down each and everything. I will give you a worksheet to solve related to this information.
Organisms know me better as cell. Does that ring a bell? You will soon know more about me. The discovery of cells dates back to the 17th century and is associated with the invention of microscopes. Marcello Malpighi, a microscopist, proposed that plants are made of tiny structural units called utricles.
Note down it.
In 1665, Robert Hooke, an English scientist, looked at a thin slice of cork through a compound microscope.
See the compound microscope.
He observed many tiny, hollow, room-like structures that resembled a honeycomb and called them cells. Hooke actually saw only the outer cell walls because cork cells are not alive. Leeuwenhoek, in 1674, with the improved microscope, discovered free-living cells in pond water for the first time. Robert Brown, in 1831, discovered the nucleus in the cell. Purkinje, in 1839, coined the term protoplasm for the fluid substance of the cell. Two biologists, Schleiden in 1838 and Schwann in 1839, proposed the cell theory that all plants and animals are composed of cells. Rudolf Virchow in 1855 further expanded the cell theory by saying omnis cellula e cellula, which means all cells arise from pre-existing cells. All living organisms are made of cells. Cell is derived from the Latin word cellula, which means a little room. Plant and animal cells are too small and visible only under a microscope.
So, without the microscope, you would have never known me. That's why I consider the microscope to be one of the greatest inventions of mankind.
So
Let's see.
Now let's see how does the compound microscope work. Before watching this video further, let us go back to your textbook. See your textbook. Page number 1 देखिए. What are living organisms made of? There is an activity given to you, activity number 5.1. You have to do this activity in school, but the schools are closed, so it is not easy to do this activity at home. तो मैं आपको इसी में वीडियो में ही दिखाती हूँ कि किस तरह से ये एक्टिविटी करनी है, लेकिन उससे पहले आप इसको ध्यान से पढ़ लीजिए. वैसे आपके पास बुक्स अवेलेबल होंगी, अगर नहीं है तो आप यहाँ से पिक्चर एक स्क्रीनशॉट भी क्लिक कर सकते हैं. देखिए, व्हाट इज़ द एक्टिविटी, व्हाट यू हैव टू डू. दिस इज़ द फर्स्ट पार्ट एंड दिस इज़ द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. एंड सी दिस पिक्चर इज़ ऑफ कंपाउंड माइक्रोस्कोप. ये वो माइक्रोस्कोप है जिसके नीचे आप स्लाइड्स को ऑब्जर्व करते हैं, माइक्रोस्कोपिक थिंग्स को ऑब्जर्व करते हैं. तो सेल को भी कंपाउंड माइक्रोस्कोप के नीचे ऑब्जर्व किया जाता है. तो एक्चुअली इस तरह से हमें कुछ सेल्स दिखाई देती हैं. एक अनियन पील की अगर हम स्लाइड बनाते हैं तो इस तरह से आपको सेल्स दिखाई देगी. So how to make this slide of onion peel and how to observe these, let us see.
See how a compound microscope works. The specimen to be observed is placed on a glass slide. The slide is then placed on the stage under an objective piece in the middle of the microscope. The light reflected from the mirror passes onto the object. From the eyepiece, a magnified image of the specimen can be seen. The side knobs are turned to get a sharper image. Let's do a microscopic examination of a plant's.
Once the schools are open, we will do it again. I will tell you how to use a compound microscope. But till then, you have to watch this video, how this compound microscope works and how we can make a slide from onion peels.
Cell.
Now, this is going to be fun.
Here's an onion. We'll begin by cutting it into halves. Peel off the thin inner layer using forceps. Spread the thin peel on the glass slide. Put a drop of water on it. Add a drop of iodine solution to it. Place a cover slip on it. Tap gently with a needle on the cover slip to remove air bubbles. Place the slide on the stage of the microscope. Small chamber-like structures, called cells, can be observed. Each cell contains a prominent vacuole, nucleus, and cytoplasm.
That onion cell looked like me, didn't it? But who do we have here?
Now you will tell. The onion cell is looking like this cell? No, na? Why? Because onion cell is a plant cell, and in class 8 you have studied about plant cell and animal cell, and in a plant cell vacuoles are prominent. They occupy the most of the space of cell. That is why it is not looking like this cell, this animated cell.
We shall look at an animal cell now. Let's begin with an ice cream spoon. Scrape the inside of your cheek using this spoon. Spread the collected mass in a drop of water on a glass slide. Add a drop of methylene blue. Place a cover slip on it. Now let's observe the cells under the microscope.
Look! These cells have darkly stained spherical nuclei at their center.
The shape of a cell is related to the specific function it performs. Cells like amoeba change their shapes for motility. Cells like nerve cells have a fixed shape that suits their function of transmitting nerve impulses. The development of the microscope led to the discovery of single and multiple-celled organisms. Organisms like amoeba, chlamydomonas, paramecium.
So this is homework for you. You have to write down the differences between unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms and give some examples of unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. इसमें दिया हुआ देखिए amoeba, chlamydomonas, paramecium, bacteria, all these are unicellular organisms. All those organisms which are made of only single cell are called unicellular organisms. And multicellular organisms, they are made of many cells. So let us study.
And bacteria have single cells, which constitute the whole organism. These organisms are called unicellular organisms. On the other hand, in organisms like fungi, plants and animals, multiple cells group together to form tissues. These organisms are called multicellular organisms. Do you know how living organisms perform the basic functions of their body? Living organisms perform the basic functions through division of labor between different organs.
Yeah, different cells have different jobs allotted to them, and we all work as a team for the body to function.
All functions within a unicellular organism are carried out by the single cell itself. For example, in amoeba, a single cell is responsible for movement, intake of food, exchange of gases, and excretion. On the other hand, different organs perform different functions in multicellular organisms. For example, the human body has a heart to pump blood, a stomach to digest food, and kidneys to excrete waste. Living organisms are also classified as prokaryotes and eukaryotes based on the organization of cellular structure. Prokaryotes are unicellular organisms that do not have a nuclear membrane and membrane-bound organelles. For example, bacteria and archaea. Eukaryotes are characterized by membrane-bound nucleus and organelles. Eukaryotes can be unicellular, such as trypanosoma, euglena, paramecium, or multicellular, such as fungi, plants, and animals.
Hey, here's a bacteria that is actually prokaryote. Let's take a closer look at it.
The cell wall is a non-living layer composed of polysaccharides and proteins. The plasma membrane is a living membrane made of lipids. It is selectively permeable. Hence, it transports ions, nutrients, and wastes across the membrane. The cytoplasm is a clear, thick, jelly-like material that forms the seat for all the cell functions.
Let's take a closer look at the cytoplasm.
The cytoplasm contains the nucleoid, ribosome, and flagella.
This is bacteria. It is
The nucleoid is a single large circular DNA molecule confined to the central region.
don't talk.
It regulates all the functions of the cell. Ribosome transfers the genetic message into proteins. Flagella are appendages responsible for motility. Let's see the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic organisms. Prokaryotic DNA is not bounded by a membrane called nucleoid.
Children, you have to note down
Eukaryotic
all
DNA
this
is
information
bounded
in the
by a
notebook.
nuclear
The
membrane.
difference between prokaryotic
Prokaryote
and
has a single
eukaryotic
circular DNA,
organisms.
while eukaryote has DNA in paired chromosomes. Prokaryotes do not have vacuoles, while eukaryotes do have vacuoles.
On about introductory part of a cell. So far in this chapter, we have studied about the introductory part of the cell, the name of main scientist who contributed in discovery and other phenomena related to cell. Then we knew about the activity, how we can prepare a temporary mount from onion peel and cheek cells. Now in our next topic, we will study about different components of a cell. What is the structural organization of cell, one by one. Before that, you have to do some assignments. You have to write the answer of these two questions given in your textbook. Who discovered cell and how, and why is the cell called the structural and functional unit of life? Also, you have to write the difference between eukaryotes and prokaryotes, unicellular organisms and multicellular organisms. In our next video, we will study about different components of a cell.